You ain't got a snowball's chance in Southtown of convincing me this isn't the best holiday special. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainely Movies, and Merry Christmas! Today I'm going to be talking about the 1974 Rankin Bass Christmas special, The Year Without a Santa Claus. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all that extra content. The Year Without a Santa Claus stars the vocal talents of Rooney, Shirley and Shawn, and was directed by the duo of Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules. Based on Phyllis McGinley's 1957 children's book of the same name, it tells the story of the year Santa Claus wanted to take a vacation because of the lack of goodwill and Christmas cheer. So, I'm not really a big Christmas holiday cheer kind of person. I like the holidays, so I'm no Grinch, but I don't get wrapped up in the festive spirit until a few days before Christmas. And even then, I don't think I feel quite the same boundless joy that others do at this time of year. But there is one surefire way to get me in the Christmas mood: the Rankin Bass holiday specials. These stop-motion TV movies are an inextricable part of the holidays for me, and give me an instant dose of childhood nostalgia. Even though most of these specials predate me by about 20 years, they seem to always be on TV in December when I was growing up, so I watched them every year. There were a lot of these holiday specials, and I really liked most of them, but The Year Without a Santa Claus has always been my favorite by far. All of these Rankin Bass specials exude a kind of fuzzy warmth that instantly gets me in the holiday spirit, but this particular film has always resonated with me in a different way. Rather than retelling a classic tale like the story of Rudolph or how Santa came to be, The Year Without a Santa Claus focuses on a unique story. What if Santa decided to call it quits because nobody cared about Christmas anymore? It's an interesting premise, and definitely not a concept I've ever seen explored in any other kids' movie. Now, even with the unique premise, there are no real surprises here. The eventual endpoint of the film's pretty obvious from the start, but somehow that makes it all the more heartwarming. It's a very comforting kind of predictability, and exactly the type of story to get you in the Christmas mood, especially if you're somebody like me who isn't automatically there on November 1st. As with most of the Rankin Bass holiday specials, this is a stop-motion film, or animagic as they called it. This type of animation style has started to come back into the spotlight as of late thanks to Laika, but there's something so endearing and irreplicable about the style of these Rankin Bass specials, and The Year Without a Santa Claus is no exception. Somebody watching it for the first time today might be a bit put off by how rudimentary it seems, but the amount of work and skill it took to create this movie is pretty impressive. The character designs are great, and the fact that this movie was shot with posable puppets only adds to that fuzzy warmth I was talking about earlier. Overlaying the occasional hand-drawn snowstorm and seeing a glimpse of the wires every now and then when watching in HD just adds to that endearing nostalgia for me. One thing that I don't think gets mentioned enough about this movie, and other Rankin Bass productions, is the vocal acting. I'm sure part of it's just because I grew up listening to these voices over and over again, but they're kinda iconically memorable to me. Rooney has always been the voice of Santa Claus in my mind, thanks to these specials. He voiced him in Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and then reprised the role here and in one of the Rudolph sequels. Shirley in her final acting role, is equally as memorable and iconic as Mrs. Claus here. And then of course we've got the Miser brothers, with George S. Irving providing the bombastically cartoonish voice of Heat Miser, and Shawn contributing the snarky and sly voice of Snow Miser, who sounds like a fantastically odd mix between James Woods and Martin Short. Throw in all of the musical sound effects like the reindeer flight or Santa's trumpeting nose blow, and you get some extremely memorable audio. Speaking of audio, why do I feel like I'm forgetting to mention something? The music! This is gonna sound crazy, but the songs from this movie are just as memorable and iconic to me as those in some of my favorite Disney movies. Everybody thinks of the Miser Brothers songs, and for good reason, but this movie's chock full of excellent music. You've got some traditional Christmas songs like Sleigh Ride, Blue Christmas, and Here Comes Santa Claus, complete with Santa literally traveling down Santa Claus Lane. But this movie's also got a bunch of great original songs too. The title song's excellent as one of those classically descriptive theme songs, and honestly, gets stuck in my head pretty regularly. Then we've got Mrs. Claus's I Could Be Santa Claus, as she fantasizes about taking Santa's place that Christmas, which I still think would have been a very cool direction for the story to go. From there, we've got the emotional I Believe in Santa Claus, which actually used to be my least favorite in the movie, but as an adult, I've realized it's about much more than the surface level Santa Claus reading, and is actually surprisingly heartfelt and impactful. It's Gonna Snow Right Here in Dixie brings the energy back up, but of course, nothing can match the greatness of the Miser Brothers songs. These characters and their pair of songs have rightfully earned a bit of a cult classic status, and it's definitely the part of the movie I most look forward to every time I watch. The horns, the lyrics, the little chorus lines of mini misers. Too much? I say not enough. This pair of songs has been stuck in my head more times than I could ever count, and you know what? I'm not mad about it one bit. So obviously, given my lifelong love and nostalgia for this movie, I'm probably not the most objective reviewer of it, but it certainly has its problems. It's all a little goofy and dated. It makes sense considering it's a made-for-TV kids' Christmas special from the 70s, but there's no denying that elements of the plot are pretty dumb. The fact that Iggy and his parents, especially his dad, don't immediately recognize Claus as Santa is some Clark Kent wearing glasses level of silliness. Jingle and Jangle have always been a little annoying to me. Some of the dialogue and delivery's pretty silly, like, I dreamed unhappy things, or Vixen, she's just a baby. And of course, the story itself is goofy and wraps up too conveniently. But these problems are part of what makes this movie as endearing as it is to me. It's the distillation of childhood Christmas feeling for me, and it wouldn't be Christmas without this movie. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. Pro number one has gotta be the music. Even loving this movie as much as I do, I recognize that the music is definitely the most iconic aspect. From the Christmas classics like Sleigh Ride and Here Comes Santa Claus to the originals like The Year Without a Santa Claus and I Believe in Santa Claus, this movie's absolutely full of catchy songs that are sure to put you in the holiday spirit. They've all been stuck in my head at one point or another, but I've got to make special mention of the Miser Brothers songs. Because not only are they my favorites in the movie, but they're just about the catchiest songs you'll ever hear in a Christmas movie. The second pro is the story. It's got some silliness and predictability, which could land it in the cons for some people, but I've always been really impressed by how unique the story was. It's based on a children's book, so it wasn't an entirely original production, but when compared to the more traditional Christmas stories at the center of most other Rankin Bass specials, this one was pretty distinctive. It was fun and funny, but also had a lot of heart and a darker twist to its premise than typical of these movies, with Santa Claus straight up wanting to quit because he didn't think people cared about him or Christmas anymore. On the con side, my biggest issue is how goofy certain aspects of the plot are. I know that sounds silly, like, why am I picking apart a made-for-TV kids special? But there were always some things that didn't make sense or work, even when I was a kid. Things like Santa not being recognized at all, or the fact that out of all of the reindeer Jingle and Jangle could have taken, they chose Vixen, the baby. It also gets a tad slapsticky at times, and some of the character reaction shots are a little weird, or they linger on a shot for just a bit too long, but honestly, the issues here don't really hamper my enjoyment of this movie. Before I give you my rating and recommendations, I want to remind you that if you're interested in buying The Year Without a Santa Claus or any of the other films I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links for all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. I'm gonna give The Year Without a Santa Claus 4.5 out of 5 paws. If I was going off of pure nostalgia, this would easily be a 5-paw movie for me. The story, the music, the endearing Christmas cheer, but there are aspects of it that drag a little and still make me roll my eyes, even through the nostalgia, so I do have to knock it down half a paw. I would recommend The Year Without a Santa Claus to anybody in the mood for a Christmas special. It's stop motion, it's dated, it's only 50 minutes long, but if you want a dose of holiday cheer, this will probably do the job. As with all of the Rankin Bass specials, this is clearly aimed at kids, and I do think people watching it now for the first time as an adult might be disappointed, or at least not understand the fuss. But if you watched it as a kid, or maybe watched it with your own kids when they were young, I think the nostalgia will hit you pretty hard, and you'll end up having a really good time with it. If you liked The Year Without a Santa Claus, I would recommend a set of other Rankin Bass stop-motion holiday specials. First, I'd suggest Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which basically tells the story of how Santa Claus and various Christmas traditions came to be. It also marked Mickey Rooney's first time voicing Santa, before later reprising the role here in The Year Without a Santa Claus. Plus, it's got a character named Burgermeister Meisterburger, so how can you go wrong with that? If you want a more traditional story, you might like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It was the first Rankin Bass holiday special, back even before they renamed their production company, and is probably the most famous holiday special, and reindeer, of all. And if you're interested in another lesser-known, kinda weird Rankin Bass special, you should check out Jack Frost. It's got a groundhog narrator, an iron horse, the evil Kubla Kraus. It's a weird movie, but it's got its moments. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1, have you seen The Year Without a Santa Claus? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, which miser brother do you like best? Snow miser or heat miser? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe or at it to see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies, the way life should be.